the edge of the Kalahari Desert, in the crater of an extinct volcano. An extraordinary phenomenon. A celebration of opulence and lavish luxury. A place vibrant with excitement, where the adventurous indulge the senses, where fertile minds run free, and where fantasy has become fact. The Lost City. The Lost City project was the brainchild of Sol Kerzner, chief executive of Sun International Hotels. He visualized a resort hotel so grand it would rank amongst the finest in the world. Surrounded by vast gardens, a jungle with dense foliage, waterfalls and lakes. In anyone's language, the creation of the Lost City, a breathtaking extension of the Sun City Resort, was a spectacular challenge. When the major contractors arrived on site to turn the first sod of arid semi-desert scrubland, even they could not know how daunting the challenge would become. What they did know was that the entire 800 million rand resort would have to be ready in only 28 months. Among those entrusted with the task of turning Kerzner's fantasy into reality were Patrick Watson, world-renowned landscape designer, and Top Turf, South Africa's leading landscaping contractor under the leadership of Dave Kirkby. A project of this size and complexity would require a team of specialists as had never been assembled before. Tree harvesters, nurserymen, contracts managers, computer programmers and operators, irrigation engineers, indoor plantscapers, propagators, and many more. With what later proved to be an uncanny perception, Dave Kirkby selected exactly the right people for each task. He assembled a team that would not be overawed by the project, but would be inspired by what was to become the largest landscaping and gardening project ever undertaken anywhere on Earth. When it was all over, one of them would be heard to say, "We went to hell and back, and we created heaven." Both Top Turf and Watson had been anticipating a major project just like this, having already completed several landscaping and maintenance projects for Sun International in the past, among them the Sun City Gardens and the jungle of the Cascades Hotel. Ready and waiting in Top Turf's 3 giant nurseries at Kempton Park, the Wild Coast and Boshoek were hundreds of thousands of indigenous and exotic trees, shrubs and ground covers. But even this was not enough. The colossal scale of the project required yet another nursery and maintenance facility on site. Administration buildings, workshops, stores and service yards, drip lines, a tree farm, propagation and shade houses, all were fully operational in less than 6 months. Conscious of the scarcity of water, Top Turf constructed the nursery with water conservation in mind. Water is pumped from a supply dam and through a fully automated irrigation system running throughout the nursery. Excess water is drained off and gathered in a small dam to be recycled through the nursery again. Also ready in record time, a sophisticated computer system to monitor the progress of the 10,000 new plants propagated each month. And when planting began on site, the exact location and watering needs of each and every one would be recorded on the same computer. To meet the propagation needs of the project, the nurseries had to recreate no less than 22 different microclimates, ranging from arid desert to tropical rainforest, from indigenous bushveld to swampland, for plants requiring anything from 80% shade to full sun. Most, including some extremely rare species, were nurtured from seeds and cuttings. No less than 70% were species which had never been cultivated before. The landscape design requirements also prompted a worldwide search for specific plants. From collectors and nurseries all over the world, the plants began arriving, and the amazing collection grew. Further complicating the task was the meticulous maintenance so many rare species demanded. By October 1990, construction of the fantasy landscape had begun in earnest. Hundreds of tons of earth and rock were moved and rearranged. Existing trees were dug up and root-balled in grow bags of geotextile. Care was taken to inflict as little damage as possible, so that when they were finally replanted on site, it would be difficult to tell that they had been moved at all. But it would be a year before the trees could be planted in their final position. So they were moved to a specially prepared tree farm complete with their grow bags. When they were transplanted for a second time, the bags still remained, but were punctured to allow the roots to grow. If these trees ever need to be moved again, only the roots outside the bag will need to be trimmed off. This system, pioneered by Top Turf, is so successful that the trees showed only minimal signs of trauma, even though some had to be relocated and transplanted several times. Working closely with the site construction teams,